Ron White, the founder of BrainAthlete.com. I'm going to answer one of the most common questions that I get. If you've followed my memory training or my memory system at all, you know I teach a method that I certainly did not invent. It's been around several thousand years. It's known as, by a couple different names, the Roman Room, the method of loci, the journey system. All these are describing the same thing, and it's simply a way of memorizing a map of your house and then using that map of your house to memorize data. I'm not going to go into the explanation here. If you want an explanation of what it is, or if you haven't heard of it before, I'll have links at the end of this video and in the video description below. Click on those. I'm going to proceed as if you already understand the method of loci or the Roman Room, whatever you want to call it. The question is this: are you able to use your files over and over again for different material? And if so, why don't you confuse that material? For example, I got an email this week and somebody asked me, Ron, if I'm trying to memorize a poem and I use my files to memorize a poem, 2 days later, can I memorize another poem? Or can I memorize the President's United States today and then use those same files tomorrow to give a speech on how to increase my sales and not confuse the material? The answer is this: yes, you continue to use your files, the same files that never change, over and over and over again, and you will not confuse the data. There are two reasons why. The first reason is this: as long as the subject matter is different, you're not going to confuse it. For example, you use your files today to memorize the presidents of the United States. Then tomorrow you use your files to memorize the periodic table of elements. Same file, same furniture. Then the next day you use your files to memorize a poem. Then the next day you use your files to memorize a speech on how to increase your sales. So in 4 days you've used your same files 4 different times for 4 different topics. The next week, you go to take your history test, and it says, who's the 5th president of the United States? You're going to jump to your 5th file in your house, and you're going to write down James Monroe. However, if you've used those same files to give a presentation on how to increase your sales, when you're giving that presentation, you're not going to be in front of the group and say, guys, the 5th point to increasing your sales is James Monroe. You're just not going to do it. You're not going to confuse the data. Why? Because the data is different. President's United States, periodic table of elements, a speech, a poem, it's all different. So you can use your files over and over again and you're not going to confuse the material. However, let's say you wanted to memorize a 100-digit number today, and then 4 hours later you wanted to memorize another 100-digit number. There's a high likelihood and a high probability you're going to confuse the two lists. Why? Because the lists are random and they're so similar. The rule of thumb is this: if the subject matter is different, you can use your same files and not confuse it. If it's very similar or random, like a string of numbers, use a different set of files so you don't confuse it. There's a second principle in here, though, that's very important to understand. Whenever a construction worker builds a building, they put the wooden forms down, and then they pour the cement into those wooden forms. The cement hardens, it becomes hard as a rock, literally. They take the wooden forms away, and the concrete block stands there, solid as a rock. Your memory is the same way. Whatever you want to recall is the poem, the speech, the president, the periodic table of elements. That's the concrete. You pour that into the wooden forms, which is the files. Once you pour the President's United States or that poem or the speech into your files, you review it and you review it and you review it and you review it and you review it. Eventually you've reviewed it so many times that you just know it, and you no longer need your files, those wooden forms, to hold the information in your brain. So just like with the concrete, you take the wooden forms away and the concrete stands there. Just like with the memory system, you take the forms, the files away, and you just know the material. So let's say you do have similar information you want to memorize. You have a 20-line poem, you put it on your files, you review it today, you review it tomorrow, you review it the next day, you review it in a month, you review it in 6 months. You just know it now. Take the files away, use those files for another poem. Even though it's similar material, you'll still be able to use it with no confusion, because you're really not even using those files anymore for that poem. Your files are just there to hold something in your memory until it becomes solid knowledge. My name is Ron White, founder of BrainAthlete.com. Send me your questions on memory, and I look forward to answering them, and I look forward to hearing about your success.